You guys good with energy? Good with energy? All right. So it's been 8 years of Driven. Crazy. Feels like Driven 37. It's been a lot of years, and I want to share with you just my 7 ways that you can stay driven, because that's all you need. What Syl said about being scared, doing scary things to level up in life. You know, my start was something like that. I grew up, a first generation Mexican American. And I remember my parents, my mom, I used to go with her to Goodwill. And I don't know how many of you can relate. Us Latinos, we don't know what going to Macy's or going to Robinson's May back then, JCPenney even. We used to go to Goodwill and we used to buy clothes right there. They called it La Tienda La Segunda. You guys heard about that? La Segunda. So I grew up going to La Segunda with my mom. Then later when we made a little bit more money, my parents, we started going to Ross. But I remember going to Goodwill, and I hated going to Goodwill. Sorry, Mom. I don't know where you are. Oh, right there. But I hated going to Goodwill. Like, I didn't like it. And when we used to go to Goodwill, my dad used to take me to the park. And we used to go see, like, the fishes, turtles, things like that. But I grew up like that. And then I remember, you see the car right there. Used car, salvage. Like, that's what I grew up with. We used to buy salvage cars, my dad, because my dad and my mom were really hard workers. So they worked really hard. And they were the best parents ever. Love you, parents. Mom, Dad. I'm 40 years old now, so I'm getting a little bit emotional here. Because, 40 years now, and especially 11 years of a lot of people wishing me to go out of business. People wanting to see me fail. People wanting to see me fall. Making fun of like, oh, this car's leased, that's a fit. He's whatever, he's fake. He's not gonna make it. And then next year comes, 3 years, 4 years. We've been in business, active in business for 11 years. We dealt with everything. Lawsuits, IRS audits, Department of Real Estate comes into our building and wants to shut us down. Everything. They wipe my bank account for tax purposes, and then I have to call, and it gets scary, and then I don't know how I'm gonna pay the payroll, the bills Friday. But we always have figured it out. And because I had a chip on my shoulder, I always felt like I was left behind. But if you could see that little kid right there, that little boy that looks kind of like Italia, like I was a dreamer. But I always felt like I was left behind. Going back to the start of Driven. I started Driven because Grant Cardone, a lot of you know Grant Cardone, right? Yeah. He told me, I was telling Sohab backstage, I was telling him, because he was telling me, how'd you start Driven? And I said, well, I started Driven because I was left behind by Grant Cardone. I'm Grant Cardone's best mentee, by far. He knows that. If you ever ask him, Albert Preciado, he'll go like, Albert, yeah, Albert. Grant Cardone loves me, but we went different directions because Grant promised me that I would speak at the 10X stage. I was at his first event, because lately he's been saying that his first 10X was in Cabo with 80-something people. That's not true. His first 10X was in Cancun with about 35 people, because I was there. And I have pictures. And so the next big event he had was the 10X Growth Conference. And I remember that for a year I told Grant, I want to speak on stage. And he said, make $1 million. So I make $1 million. I go back to him. He's like, you can't speak on stage. You got to make millions. So then I go and I make 2 million. You can't speak on stage. And I said, why? And then he said something that it made me feel like I was being left behind again. He said, because you don't have any audience. You don't have an audience. And I said, well, what does that mean? He's like, nobody knows you. You're not going to help me sell any tickets. So then that woke me up to the idea that I have to become a celebrity. I have to become a celebrity in my space, because if nobody knows me, nobody's going to pay me. It's not about who knows you. I mean, it's not about how good you are or how experienced you are. It's about who knows you. If nobody knows you and you're the most beautiful person in the world, you're never going to get laid. No point. So I was always left behind. So that dreamer went with my dad, one day. And we went to a Bel Air house, big mansion. And I saw a red shiny car, which was a Ferrari. I didn't know back then. Now my daughter, Italia, she's somewhere right here. She's named after my first Ferrari, Italia. And I saw that red Ferrari, that big house, and I told my dad, Dad, how come you don't have this house? Like, what's wrong with you? How come you don't have this red shiny car? And he told me something that, again, like a lot of you, I felt the pain, because that's not for us. That's what he told me. So then that moment I committed, like, I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna change what people expect of Mexicans and Latinos in America. So I promised and I committed to that, and I told my dad, how can I do it? And he said, well, there's only one way. If you work harder than everybody and you never quit, then maybe it's gonna be possible. So I committed to that. I remember all the mistreated. I was mistreated all the time. I remember, that's my little turtle right there, Raphael. I named it Raphael after the Ninja Turtles. So by mistreated, I mean that when I used to go to school in the first grade, my mom decided, hey, Albert, she calls me Alberto. Alberto, te voy a mandar en autobús a la escuela. So you're gonna take the school bus. You know that big, stinky, yellow school bus? I took that bus from 6th grade all the way to 12. For the longest, for all my life, I used to take that school bus. I used to wake up at 5:30. My dad used to wake me up. He would throw water at my face. He would tickle me because I hated school. How many of you hate school? Yeah, I hated school. I hated school with a passion. I would make up diarrhea to not go to school. Trick my mom. You know the light bulb? You put the thermometer and you pretend to have fever and stomach flu and all that. I used to do that like 15 times a month. Hated school. Because I hated going on that school bus, because the first time I got on that school bus, I was scared because Latino parents overprotect their kids. And that's something that me and Syl are working hard not to do for our little girls, because they're growing up being spoiled. And so my parents decided to send me in that school bus because they wanted me to be in a better environment, because where we lived, we had a lot of drug dealing, we had a lot of shootings, we had robberies, it was not a good area. And if I went to school there, it was gonna be probably, it was Virgil, Belmont High School, and those weren't good schools. A lot of cholos came out from there, 18th Street, Mara Salvatrucha. So I was gonna end up being 18th Street. My mom didn't want that, so she sent me to Granada Hills. And I remember the first time I get there, they put me on a headlock on the school bus. I get to school, and everybody is different than me. I'm like one of the 5 brown kids. Like not a lot of brown kids there. Everybody was different than us. It's Granada Hills. And in the 1990, you didn't see many Mexicans over there, Latinos. So they started calling me wetback. I didn't even know what that meant. And these kids that look like Bart Simpson, I'm like, who are these people? And I'm like scared, I'm paranoid. And they're calling me wetback. And I'm just laughing because I don't understand English. I don't know English. I didn't know English. Now I still have an accent, but I still go for it. But I'm there. They start calling me wetback. They tell me go back to Mexico. They didn't even know if I was Mexican. But, they see people like us and they think they're Mexican. They don't know if I'm Colombian. Maybe I'm from El Salvador. I don't know. But they start calling me wetback, go back to Mexico, where you came from. I was born here. I didn't even come from Mexico. My parents came from Mexico. Obviously, I come from Mexico because of my parents, but I was born here, but they were calling me wetback, making fun of me, and then the teachers or the school thought I was a special ed student, so I go special ed, then I go to ESL class, and that was my childhood. It was painful. Elementary school, middle school, high school. I was so unattractive that I couldn't get laid if my life depended on it. Like, I wanted to get laid. No girls liked me. I was very skinny, very pale, couldn't even talk. So I would see all the popular kids, the popular boys with the hot chicks. Like, how many people here, like, guys, we all like hot chicks, right? I wanted the hot chicks, but I couldn't get the hot chicks. So it was a lot of pain that I endured growing up. And I remember vividly, one time my dad takes me to the Universal Studios. And it was for me, it was like once a year we would go to Universal Studios. Maybe twice, but I remember like once a year. It was like a big deal because my parents work very hard and they like to save their money because how many of you heard save money for rainy days? My parents wanted to save money. I know my mom used to get mad because I used to open the fridge, keep it wide open for like more than a minute. And she would get mad and she would, Alberto, close the door. You're wasting electricity. And then my mom would get mad because I would leave the lights on in my room and go play in the living room. Why you leave the lights on? Electricity. So it was always like always worried and we would always panic because we thought money was going to run out. So when I used to go to Universal Studios, Disneyland, it was like once a year. But I was the happiest kid in the world. I used to we would wait in lines 2 hours. Now we go to Disneyland, we have the VIP person. We skip all the lines and our kids are growing up like that. So that's why me and Syl have a situation with our girls. We got to make sure that we do it right. But I remember one time, I go to Universal Studios and I took that picture with Conan. And I'm like, I want to be like that guy. And you see the timid kid right there? That's me. And I'm like, Conan, I want to be like Conan. So as a kid, you visualize, you look at things and you think, man, I want to be like Conan. I want to be like James Bond. I want to be like Kobe. Like my dream, I was supposed to be a starting point guard for the Lakers and play with Kobe. That was my plan. I don't know how I ended up being a loan officer. But I was supposed to be a point guard. Ask my dad. He used to take me to all the games. I'm a huge Kobe fan. How many Kobe fans? When Kobe retired, I stopped watching basketball. I've never missed a Kobe game. Never missed a Laker game. I would watch all the replays. When I was in home, my dad would record them. When I used to go to Mexico sometimes with my mom, I would miss the games. I would make sure my dad would record the games so that I could see the games when I came back. So we all visualize, and the pain for me is what got me to where I am today. And now, as you start coming up, sometimes you get discouraged and you're like, man, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And the power I feel from making positive changes in other people's lives, you'll see in a few slides next. I don't have a lot of slides. When you impact others, when I see other people that we help create the same dream life that we created, nothing makes me feel more special than that. I have Alexis right here, Jared over there. We have a lot of people, but Patty, certain people stand out. They've been here since the beginning. We see them making moves, but we also see them busting their ass off. You know, they remind me of the Conan, the Kobe, the people that don't give up. When you don't commit to big, crazy goals, you're never gonna have the dream life that you want. You're not gonna have that. Like, how does a wetback ESL student from the hood have an SF-90, a Cullinan flight? We've been flying private for 3.5 years. I haven't been in a commercial flight for over 3.5 years. But what makes me more happy is when I see people winning. I have a couple from Puerto Rico, which I'll show you in a bit. That couple is making over $5 million bucks a year. When I met them, they were making $7,000 a month. $5 million a year now. They got their Porsche, and now they have a 296 GTS Ferrari. Big wins. And I see a lot of you from the Driven community that have started with us since Driven 1, and you were struggling, about to die, about to go out of business, battling illnesses, and now I see you guys in the front. And I used to be that person in the back. You know, I started by going to a Tony Robbins seminar. I think I paid like $25, or I don't know what I paid back then. But I was all the way in the back. And I remember the people in the back were telling me like, hey, this is bullshit, this is garbage. The only reason why Tony Robbins has that grin in his face is because he's making all this money from us. And I'm looking at these people, and they're all brokies. And I'm like, I'm listening to these brokies. Like, why am I listening to these brokies when the people in the front are all $1 million earners? They're all making $1 million. They all have nice cars. Why am I listening to the wrong advice? That's why I always say, watch the source of your advice. You know, that picture right there brings a lot of memories. You got the dreamer, little kid. I have big dreams. Then you grow up, you hit puberty right there. And I remember I told my dad, I want a red car. It was a coupe. This car reminded me of the Ferrari 458, the Ferrari that I saw. It wasn't a Ferrari 458, but it was a Ferrari like 300 back in the day. So I remember going to this salvage dealer, and I saw the cars, because my dad, you know, we went to a salvage dealer because that's all we could afford. So grateful for my parents. Like, give it up for all the parents that exist, for your parents. Without them, we're nothing. And I remember that red Civic reminded me so much of that red car. And I was a college student right there. You could see how good I was. Like, I'm a basketball kid. You see the wristband right there. I'll ball up Alexis anytime. He used to play basketball in the Granada Hills too. So I got that car. Long story short, I get into the mortgage industry. I just make a lot of mistakes, a lot of women, a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, partying. I end up losing everything, and I end up in that Ford Explorer, which was the car that came after the Civic, also a salvage SUV. And I lost everything in 2008, and that's me washing the car. I have some Jordans on. I'm washing the Ford Explorer. Hit rock bottom, lost everything in 2008. But you know what I did? I did not quit. A lot of people that were in mortgage and real estate, when we had the 2008 crisis, they quit. And they got out of the industry, they started doing other things. Some ended up in jail. But I remember my dad said, a quitter one time is a quitter for life. And I always remember that for the rest of my life. I said, I'm never gonna quit. Even when it feels very painful. If you keep fighting, sometimes you're 1 inch away from quitting or going across the line, the victory line. And no matter what, 40 years of life that I have, every single time that I felt like quitting, I just kept pushing. And every single time, God sent something to help me. And I always made it. I always made it through, no matter what. No matter what challenges. But remember, if you commit to small little challenges, then you're committed to thinking small. If you commit to huge challenges, but you don't quit, you'll figure it out. You know, I'm so proud of Patty. When she committed to big challenges, she got a house, $1 million house. Then she got another $1 million house. Then she said, "Oh, I'm gonna move here." Then she said, "Oh, and then she started spending money here, spending money here, spending money there." She got a little bit stressed out, but she didn't quit. Proud of her. Stay away from drugs, guys. Stay away from drugs. Stay away from drinking too much, being out. I got beat up by 10 guys in the bathroom, being at a club. I almost lost my eye, my left eye. A lot of people don't know that. Nothing good happens after 10 p.m. Nothing. And if you have big dreams, have fun, you know, have a little bit of fun. I've been there. But nothing good happens after 10 p.m. Go with your kids. Work on this. Get better. Don't be in the right environment. So they kicked me very close to losing the eye. And this part of my face, my left side, is smaller than my right side. So I went to a doctor. They had to put a filler to match both sides. Not a lot of people know that. That's why my left eye is a little weak. It kind of flickles, or whatever you call it. It tweaks a little bit. How do you say it? I want to say spasms. It just, it twitches. I get a little twitch in my left eye. But you know, you live and you learn. I want to play this quick video. I like playing this quick video because people ask me, what drives you? What gives you energy when you feel like quitting? And the energy comes from my daughters. Watch this video.
Okay. Daddy is the sweetest daddy in the world. Daddy is the most handsome, the smartest, the most clever, the kindest. He is my Superman. Daddy wants me to do well at school. Daddy is just great, but he lies. He lies about having a job. He lies about having money. He lies that he's not tired. He lies that he's not hungry. He lies that we have everything. He lies about his happiness. He lies because of me.
How many of you have kids? Parents, how many of you would do anything for your kids? How many of you lie for your kids? Like hide the pain. You know, a lot of times, maybe some of you can relate. I'm going through a lot. You know, business is going through a lot. The bigger the business, the bigger the goals, the bigger the problems, right? So you might have a $10,000 problem. Some people might have $1 million problems. Some people have $1 billion problems. But we all have problems, and it's all relevant to who you are. And many times, our job as men is to protect our wives, our family, our kids, our parents. We have to hide the pain. When they ask us, how's everything going? Good. Amazing. Even when things are not going amazing, when things are not going good. A leader, leads by example. When you see a leader with their head down, they're all walking like this. Sometimes you go out on the field, you make a lot of calls, and you get nothing. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to pay your bills. But you always have to keep your head up for your wife. Maybe for your husband. Maybe you're the breadwinner. All those powerful ladies out here. How many chingonas in the house? You got to say everything's amazing, everything's perfect, everything's great. As a leader, you have to hide and keep all that pain within you so that you empower your people to create, to keep their head up. You got to take the pain. So, for me, my family, the power I feel from changing my family for generations to come is what keeps me driven. That keeps me every single day waking up feeling broke, feeling like I'm going out of business. Sometimes I wake up and I gotta roll, I gotta start. I'm like, I wake up, I gotta go on my live, 1 hour live. In today's world, if you're not on the internet, then you have no chance of winning. Like, you're gonna go out of business. You might as well give up right now. If you're not on the internet or you refuse to get on the internet, you're just not gonna make it. You're nobody. You have to get on the internet. You've heard how important it is. I don't care if you're scared, if you're uncomfortable, if you're embarrassed. You gotta get on the internet. So every morning I wake up, non-negotiable, go on a 1 hour live every single morning. I wake up, I get on the live, still sleeping, do my live, finish my live. Sometimes she's still sleeping. And then finally they wake up, and then the girls want to run to me, give me a hug. I got to do a quick hug. I literally give them a kiss like I did right now and run out of the house. Because now we got to run to our business. We got training, we got one-on-ones, we got meetings, we got appointments. The day goes. I get home, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, sometimes 9:30, sometimes later, to get on another 1 hour live. Get home, give them a little chirpy kiss, get another live. Finish the live, they're asleep. I don't see them I rarely spend time with them, see them Monday through Friday. I don't see Saturday, Sunday, same thing. I work on Saturdays and Sundays. I don't just fool around. And people, look, a lot of people say it, not a lot of people do it. It's hard to fake Driven 8. It's hard to fake the mortgage guys being active in business for 11 years. It's hard to fake Ambiance Realty, active in business 9 years. It's hard to fake Driven, like I said, 8 years. It's hard to fake newest company, Conquer Escrow, somewhere right here. Conquer Escrow. Where's Michelle? That lady does so much for Conquer Escrow. Without her, we wouldn't have Conquer Escrow. So really proud of you, Michelle. You can't fake success. You can't fake winning. So, where is it? So my purpose of Driven is to lead a movement of the next generations to come. Like, I can't wait to see who's gonna be that next success story. We probably have 3 billionaires right here. Who are they? Anybody here thinks you're the next billionaire? Who? Everybody wants to be it, right? But who wants to do the work that it takes? Like I said, I sacrifice so much, and every day is like, again, wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep. And remember that when you have a big opportunity, you gotta be ready for it. Because when the opportunity comes, you're not gonna feel your best. You're not gonna be with the best attitude. Something's gonna go wrong. Expect things to, like always, you think it's gonna be a perfect day, a perfect opportunity, and something happens. Fucks everything up. So you always gotta anticipate. You being at 30% has to beat your opponent at 100%. So always remember, you're preparing every day for that opportunity. It's gonna come when you least expect it. This is something that I go by. I have nothing in common with lazy people who blame others for their lack of success. Great things come from the hard work and perseverance. No excuses. A lot of people think, hey, it's his problem. It's my boss's problem. It's my company's problem. It's them. You know, the only person responsible for the success is you. Because I can give you the blueprint, but I'm not going to do the execution for you. I can't execute for you. You got to execute. And a lot of you know about me. I spend money. People ask me, well, how do you build your following? How do you build your businesses? How are all these people your friends? We're talking backstage over there with Wes and Sohop, and I'm showing them, look, here's Oscar de la Hoya's cell phone. Look, John Maxwell. He's like, oh, what about Andy Preciado? Oh, here it is. Like, everybody's cell phone that you can imagine, I have it. They're all my friends. And he's asking me, like, well, how do you keep in touch with them? Do you call them all the time? And I'm like, no. You know, sometimes I'll go 3 months without talking to Patrick Bet-David. My second big mentor, Patrick Bet-David. And sometimes 3 months pass by, I don't talk to him. But then when I need him, I send him a voice note. He sends me a voice note back. Sometimes I'll call him quick. I call him when I need something. He calls me when he needs something. That's how people roll at a high level, because I don't have time to call Wes Watson every day for 5 minutes. Hey, Wes, how are you? How are you feeling today? How's it going, Wes? Miss you, bro. Like, I got more important things to do than that. So does he. So, like, I'm not calling them all the time, but you build relationships. Relationships come before money. Money is not more important than relationships. And a lot of people burn their bridges, burn their relationships because of money. But when you need that relationship is not going to be there anymore. And remember, like, when somebody fucks with my friend, they fuck with me in a bad way. I'm not saying, like, because I fuck with Alexis, I fuck with Jared. That means that I like him, right? But what I'm talking about is when people fuck my friend over, then I'm not going to associate with those people. I don't like being around cancerous people. So, like, what happens is when you fuck over somebody, then that somebody is going to tell their circle, because when the higher you get, the smaller the circle. You're just going to ruin the relationship of that circle, because nobody's going to want to be anything with you. So make sure you never burn your bridges. You know, it's never anybody else's fault for you not being successful but yours. And I can't wait to see who in the back. You know, I know there's a lot of people in the back that got the general ticket. I can't wait to see how many of you are going to move up. And I'm going to see you here in the front pretty soon. I was in the back. You know, all our businesses combined made $30 million last year. It's a big number. 10 years ago, I made 100,000. 10 years of an overnight success. It wasn't overnight. It was a 10-year overnight. So remember, if you're right now in a bad spot, focus on small victories, small wins. Next year, you jump to VIP. Next year, the following year, super VIP. Following year, CEOs. For those of you that are CEOs, you guys know that you can go backstage. You can go to the back room right here. You go to the private room over there, and you could talk to the speakers. A lot of you were yesterday at the CEO session. You know, at our headquarters, you guys got to see the whole department and everything. So, you guys here, you're here because you're going to create relationships. Remember, you're not here. Are you here to learn, or are you here to create relationships? Networking. You're here for both, yeah, 100%. But you're here for that $1 million relationship, multi-million-dollar relationship. And remember that when you come to a room, opportunity. We have a big room right here. We have a lot of people, right? Focus on 2 to 3 people. There's 2 to 3 people here in this room that you got to meet. There's a lot of people here that are just going to be the talkers. They're just going to talk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make $1 million next year. I'm going to make $1 million next year. Every year, they're going to make $1 million next year. They're going to be successful next year. They don't do shit. Right? Just being straight up. A lot of people are going to say they're going to do big things in life. But there's 2, 3 people here that, you know, they're going to be the next Grant Cardone. They're going to be the next Albert. They're going to be the next Patrick Bet-David. I don't know, the next Kobe. I'm just throwing out names. But there's like 2 or 3 people in this room that they're going to be the next big stars. Is that going to be you? Or are you just going to go home and be pumped up for a week and then you're going to get back to your old habits? Are you going to come next year and you're making the same income? Then the following year, making the same income. Everything's the same or even worse. Or are you going to be that person that comes every year? I doubled my income. I did this for my family. I've invested in this. I started a business. I'm doing big things. Who is that going to be here? Because statistics say that it's going to be like 2 or 3 people in this room. Could be somebody in the back. Could be somebody in the front. But it's not going to be everybody. As much as I want everybody to win, it's not going to be everybody. It's going to be those 2 or 3 people in the room that are going to be world changers. Who's that going to be? I want to show you guys one of my biggest, if not the biggest, success story I've had from somebody that came to this Driven event years ago. And then they hired me as a coach when I used to charge $5,000, I think. Check it out. He's probably watching online. He couldn't make it this time. So that's Daniel. You see me right there. That's like 6 years ago. I think I look younger now than before. That was our first boot camp, yeah, our first business boot camp. And, you know, little just getting started. And I remember Daniel, they were going through a few problems, you know, making $5,000, $7,000 a month, not enough for, you know, what's $5,000, $7,000 a month? So him and his wife, Naida, were making about $5,000, $7,000 a month. A month ago, he sends me a text with that new Ferrari. That's not just any Ferrari. That's not a pre-owned Ferrari. That's not a 488. That's not a F8. That's the newest one, ahead of the F8. That's the 296. I think Jake Paul has one of those. And I haven't seen anybody else with that car. 296. Like a $500,000 car. He sends me a picture and he's like, I'm the second person that gets that car here in Puerto Rico. The only other person is Jake Paul. They're making over $5 million a year now with their business, solar business, and they have millions of dollars in the bank. Only 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they were struggling, about to go out of business. So that shows you what's possible, but he was one of those 2-3 people in the room. He paid money. He paid to play. He put his money where his mouth is. But then he executed. Edwin over there. Another success story. That guy, killing it. Making millions now. Proud of you. We got Nestor too. Nestor right there. Making millions. Having his event. I'll tell you guys about his event later on. But this is what makes me proud. Seeing you guys win. To close out, I know you guys are hungry, right? So that's our house. I know Syl didn't want me to do this, but that's our house. They broke into my house 2 years ago. We used to live in Beverly Hills. They broke in. I wasn't there. We were in New York for a wedding, and it had to be somebody that knew us. They broke in, four guys with masks, like ski masks, guns. They broke in. They stole my safe with a watch, Richard Mille, like $40,000 cash I think I had. And then they did it again outside of my headquarters. 2 robbers, guns, masked, California sucks. Pointed a gun here, pointed a gun here. And I took my watch, Patek 5980 gold. I have both of the papers, by the way. They stole the watches, didn't take the papers. I didn't have the papers when they hit me right there in front of our office. But it happened. So now we have full-time security at our house because, our kids need to be safe. But those are things that happen as you grow in life. Like, you still have different kinds of problems. It's like I always one of my dreams was to be a celebrity. And I got it. Now it comes with other problems. They never stop. And then, our Bel Air house, a month ago, they tried to break in. Crazy, huh? And then we have 3 beautiful daughters. So that led to us hiring full-time security now. We have people outside of the house. Nobody can get in. So now we're safe. So where I'm going is, Syl didn't like anybody being in her house because she was scared of the whole robberies and all that. So what I did, because of Dan Fleischman convinced me, is I told Syl, let's do something more intimate. Let's do like this community, but let's build this community of the driven inner circle. So I told Syl, hey Syl, what if we select like 10 people, maybe 10 couples, and we have like 3 weekends in the year where we meet up, like business, learn the stuff that we learn to go from like a little mom and pop to professionalizing the business. Our floor here is the top floor. The lights are on, see? So it's the 6th floor, not the penthouse, but the 6th floor. The 6th floor is bigger than the penthouse because the 6th floor has the west side and the east side. The top floor, the penthouse, only has one side. So we went and got this floor, and Syl wanted to get half. And you know me, I'm like, let's get the full floor. We're gonna blow up. I'm always saying, we're gonna blow up. Huge news coming. You know that most of the time I'm just pumping myself up. I'm just like, huge news. And I put it on my social media. And everybody's like, what's the huge news? And I'm like, huge news, just, it's coming. And for some reason, it always comes. But I'm always like, huge news. And I tell Syl, we're blowing up. You know, things might be falling into pieces. And I'm like, hey, babe, we're fucking blowing up. I tell her that every day. She's like all stressed out, you know, because she deals with operations. She's the operator, by the way. So she's our COO for 4 businesses. She runs all the businesses. Yeah. A visionary, a CEO like me, like a crazy maniac thinker that has all of these crazy ideas, needs an operator that's gonna operate. You know, like I fill in the crowd, but then she operates everything. She handles everything beautifully. So if you have a business right now and you're stuck, it probably has to deal with operations. We have a lot of people are good CEOs, not a lot of good operators. It's easier to be a CEO than an operator. CEO, you just throw crazy ideas, and then you let the operator handle it. So I remember Syl's thinking, you know, she's a mother. She's like, let's just get half of the side. I tell her, no, we're gonna go big or go home. So I tell her, we'll get the whole. We go there, and I just, you know me, I'm just serious. I just walk in there, and you know, I'm always very serious, by the way, because I have that Kobe look, because I carry a chip on my shoulder, and I never think that I'm good enough. I always remember like people making fun of me and people telling me that I wasn't gonna be anything in life. So I'm always serious because I always remain 3 things. You know, one time I went to see Patrick, and I was just like telling him I'm making $1 million, I'm this, I'm that. I was cocky. And he said, hey, Albert, remember, never forget that you have to remain humble, hungry, and coachable. Never forget where you came from. Yeah. Thank you, Pat. Yeah, I love that guy. And now, I'm the old guy. Now I'm the 40-year-old. Where now I mentor the youngsters, and they come to me and they're like telling me like, hey, Albert, I'm gonna get a Ferrari. I'm making $500,000 a year, and I'm young, man. I'm a lion. I'm unstoppable. I'm gonna be a billionaire in the next 5 years. And I'm like, hey, don't forget, you know, always remain humble, hungry, and coachable. And you'll never stop. Your drive will never stop. Never forget where you came from. So me, I'm always serious because I never think I'm good enough. I always want to be better. Every day I want to improve. And I always commit to big, scary things because those big, scary things are going to push you to become better. You know what brings out the creativity in you? Commitment. Commit, and creativity will follow. But if you don't commit, you're not going to do anything in life. Commit, figure it out later. Without commitment, you'll never be anything in life. So we got the full floor. We pay $100,000 a month in rent for that space. Big thinking. And, you know, it's a lot. But I tell Syl, focus on what you could control, not on what you can control. So what we could control is, you know what? Everything has a good side and a bad side. If you focus on, oh my God, it's so big, it's so expensive, the times are not the best. Okay, we'll pivot. We have it. We could do a lot of events. We could have a lot of masterminds. We could use the space. We could do so many things, so many events, right? So it's what side are you seeing? Are you seeing the side where you could create, or are you retracting? Always expand when others are contracting. So, long story short, Dan Fleischman told me, Albert, you have the headquarters, you have the Bel Air home, you have all of this, you built all these businesses. Why don't you create this mastermind that's more inner, the driven inner circle, where you show people what you created. You show people the headquarters. You show them why do you build a gym there? Why do you build a locker room, showers? Why showers in your office? Why do you have a studio to record content? Why do you have a bar in your office? Why do you have that balcony with a view? Why do you have all that? What is an operator? What's a COO? What is a CFO? What is a CEO? Who does what? Who does? So Dan told me do that. And I told Syl, hey Syl, but Dan also said, Syl was like, yeah, let's do it. Headquarters, yeah, cool. That's where I do my coaching calls that, earn me about 10, 20K a day. That thanks to Wes Watson, I implemented it. Cash, what's more important, cash? Is cash trash or cash good? Yeah, cash is trash. You know what's king? Cash flow is king. I don't care about how much cash you have. I care about the cash flow. You want to have a lot of cash flows. When you build a lot of cash flows, you get money drips coming from here, coming from here, coming from here. I got so many people that are paying $67 a month, for example, virtual training, little drips that you build. But like you said, the new biggest currency is attention. If you don't get attention, you can't create any of this. You can't create anything in life right now if you don't have attention, if you're not online. So me and Syl want to show you how we run the headquarters. But then I told Syl, but we're also going to add another day where we're going to take him to our Bel Air house. And she was like, wait, our house? And I said, yes. Dan said, we have to bring him to the house. And it's a win-win. We're all going to grow together. We're all going to learn. And we're going to also help those people like the Daniel and the Naidas. Nestor. Actually, Nestor's part of it. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to close out with this. And then I'll stick around for some Q&A. If anybody wants to do Q&A with me, I haven't ate either, but I don't have to eat. So I'm going to break you guys for lunch in 5 minutes. Before that, though, if anybody wants to stay here and maybe we'll do 10, 15 minutes of Q&A, I'll stick around here for 10, 15 minutes if anybody has any questions. But this thing, it's called the Driven Inner Circle. And we're going to spend one day at the headquarters, one day in the Bel Air home, and then the other day, Friday, it's going to be like the pre-day. So we're going to do 3 weekends, all weekend long, and it's going to be everything about dissecting the business, going through all the business components. What does Syl do? What do I do? What do all their departments do? And then we're going to also show you how we deal being parents, having 3 kids, doing all of that. I've been waiting to put this together for 7 years. I wanted to have it right. I wanted to be successful, but real success. I wanted to be a really successful person with a track record. And Dan has been telling me, you got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it. I told Dan, I'm not ready for it. How am I going to mentor people? I don't even have a headquarters. I have a little tiny office. Like, how am I going to mentor people? Like, I want to do this, but I want to do it once I feel like we made it to a certain level. So I said, okay, Dan, I'm going to do it. And so that's what it's going to be. If you guys any of you are interested, it's the headquarters, Bel Air home. We're going to do 3 weekend getaways a year. It's a yearly thing. And you guys can click on that Inner Circle 3-day weekend. That's the barcode if you want to join. I'm only taking 10 people. I already have I think 6 or 7 from yesterday. So if you want to join, click this QR code and join. It's $30,000 for the year. If you get it today, it's $20,000. All right? What I went ahead and did is I just said, fuck the 20K. You guys can get it for 14K. So if you click here, it's 14K. This includes your CEO ticket for next year. So 14K for the 3-weekend mastermind yearly thing, but you also get the CEO ticket. So you don't even have to get your CEO ticket. 14K. Get this UPC code. I'm going to leave it here for a bit. If you want to get your Driven CEO ticket, it's a $7,000 ticket. Get it for $4,000 right now. This thing, I only have 3 more spots for this. And I'm not taking everybody, by the way. I don't want to take your money if I don't feel you're ready. This is not for everybody. But you can get the CEO ticket if you want to get the CEO ticket. The CEO ticket has backstage access. You guys can go to the VIP room inside there with the speakers. You guys are in the first row. You guys get the private lunch that we're gonna go to right now. Private lunch Saturday, private lunch Sunday. After party this tomorrow night, we're gonna celebrate Syl for being the operator. We're gonna celebrate all the women, beautiful women here. A lot of beautiful Latinas, by the way. So with that said, guys, we're gonna come back, we're gonna cut to lunch. If anybody here wants to stick around, I just want to give you value. You know, so I don't mind staying here 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and I'll answer some questions. I'll be here. If you guys have any questions or want to come talk to me, just come to this. Is it this side or this side? Should we do here? Right there in the front, yeah. So just come to the front here if you want to ask any questions. I'm gonna stick around for 20 minutes or until Syl pulls me away. Thank you guys. Have a good lunch. Thank you.